Recording. Hi, everybody. Hello, hello. And you hit record today. Yay. Hi. Happy Monday. Hey, just letting you know, I'll be bouncing off about 12:25. I don't want to rudely leave you. Sounds good. Thank you for letting me know.
Good morning, or good afternoon.
Hi, how are you, Mariana?
I am good. Sorry I missed the last couple.
Oh, that's okay. Steve said you guys were busy.
Yeah, but we're hopefully back to normal here, for a while anyway. Ideation. That's my bottom 5. So I'm interested to see what I don't do.
Yeah, it was a stretch for me too. I had to get help on this one too.
It's hard to because I think I'm very idea oriented, but I think I'm looking at it in the wrong way, I'm sure.
Well, I'm sure that you just idea oriented in some ways and creative in some ways, but you probably just don't have this thought pattern. Like when you see how they think, you're like, that's not how I get that job done.
My arranger usually takes over, so I don't think a lot. I just do, which gets me into trouble sometimes.
How are you, Susan?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm glad to be back to a normal week and getting to I'm such a strong executor. I don't know if you ladies know that, but I love executing. So family events are fun too, but I love getting back to the execution.
Did you cook?
No,
See, that's executing right there.
You don't want me cooking. No, that's frustration is what that is. All right. Huh?
No, I was just saying I read a book that Well-Being at Work. I've been wanting to finish reading it, and I did, but it was hard because I'm just sitting here reading when things could be going on. So.
Yeah, that's I see. I've got that intellectual aspect to my personality, so I really love to read, but I love to execute as well. Hi, Steve. Hi, Ernie.
Hello, hello. Sorry for my delay here.
You're good.
Hello, hello.
Hi, everyone.
Hi. All right, let's get going. We have so much to cover today that I'm just going to jump right into this. Today we are covering ideation as a strength. I know we have one person on the call, Susan. I think you have ideation. Anybody else have ideation in their top 5 or top 10? Okay. So ideation is one of those that falls kind of in the middle ground. It's not, found all the time like achiever, learner, and responsibility, but it's also not super rare like discipline or command. So it is found in a person's top 5 strengths about 14% of the time. It falls into the strategic thinking arena because it is a very thought-provoking strength. Now, it is extremely different than like when we talked about the strategic strength that is, thinking about the paths going, from point A to point B, how to get there the most efficiently and really driving towards a result. Ideation is much more creative in its thought patterns and processes. It's much more, it has a more fun element and it has a more abstract element to it. It's found in the creative zone, in our work zones. It does generate and inspire new ideas. In fact, it generates and inspires lots and lots of new ideas. It is a very entrepreneurial strength. Gosh, I have those backwards. So here are some of the traits. They're creative, enlightening, smart, original, and conceptual. So just think for a minute if you guys know somebody like this, who's just a little bit more on the eccentric side. Their mind bounces around a little bit. They think of really interesting things and they say really interesting things. They bring a lot of color to the conversation. They get really excited about the ideas, or like, for example, new technology. They get really excited and fascinated about those types of things. Okay, so to them, so a restorative person is a problem solver, and to a problem solver, they love making everything into a problem because then they get to solve it. Where an idea person is, everything is an idea, everything is interesting, everything is something to be explored. And what they do is they take all these really random, at least in our minds, if you're like me, I'm very logical. They take all these random bits and pieces and they somehow connect them very quickly and bring them all together. So one of the examples I'd like to give here is Aflac, because Aflac is insurance. It's very boring. It's insurance. And they smashed it with this duck because it sounded like a duck quack, right? Aflac. And it became this really popular set of commercials and a brand. To me, an ideation person is highly likely to be the one who came up with, let's take the duck and let's take insurance and let's smash them together because the word Aflac sounds like a duck. That's the type of creativity that they naturally have all day, every day. They do lose people when people can't connect the dots. So they do need to use illustrations and whiteboards and use documentation and pictures to show what they're thinking or how they're connecting dots. Or maybe they're a drawer and they can draw something really quick, and show us through an illustration. Okay, what fuels them is other creative people. So the futurists, other ideators, people who like to study interesting words and put word combinations together, people who are experimental and thinking outside the box. These are types of people that ideation enjoy being around because they get ideas from them. And they also get ideas from like reading interesting books that are just kind of quirky, or like looking up stuff online that is new or different or interesting that people are doing today. They're particularly good in areas of design, marketing, advertising, journalism, research and development, new product development, customer service, and they have a natural eye for those new to market concepts. I also learned over the weekend that they deeply want to understand traditional systems and ways of working and thinking, because they want to expand those and bend them and break them and change it and do something different with it. So this way of thinking becomes intensified when it's partnered with activator. So when someone has ideation and activator, not only do they have this plethora of interesting ideas, creative ideas, but they're also getting them started and getting them moving. Obviously, someone with ideation and activator is going to be highly attracted to startups. If they also have adaptability, their thinking is extremely flexible, right? They're creative, they're changing things. They're saying, oh, let's innovate it this way and let's try this. And so they have a very fluid, flexible way of thinking when they have both ideation and adaptability. And when they have communication, they're not only thinking about the ideas, but they're actually communicating the ideas. And so they're thinking a lot of ideas and they're communicating a lot of ideas, which can be quite intense. And then if they have input, ideation normally goes and researches lots of ideas and gets fuel. But when you have input, that's like on steroids, because now you're heavily researching and going and getting input on all the new technologies and the new things out there and the new ideas out there. Ideation is most frequently paired with strategic, which is interesting because strategic is such a different way of thinking. It's a logical get from point A to point B and find the most efficient path on a big picture scale. What they do have in common is they are both entrepreneurial. Ideation is entrepreneurial, strategic is entrepreneurial. So when you have those two together, they're extremely entrepreneurial person. Whereas you can see that ideation is it's least found with consistency, which is a very, very logical, linear type strength. They're only found together in a person's top 5 strengths 1% of the time. And in fact, I don't think I've ever met somebody with ideation plus consistency.
Yeah, consistency is my last strength, and ideation is my number one.
And Yusra, consistency is like my number 4 or something like that. So ideation is extremely low for me.
Makes sense.
Okay, so your connectors, right? Your peoples, besides other ideators, I guess I'll add that before I send these out. I'll add ideation to this because other ideators are definitely fuel for you. But activators, people that can activate your ideas and get them going and get them moving, that is so much fun for you guys. Other futurists, people who are dreaming about what products, services, technology, and people are going to look like 5-10 years down the road. It's a different approach, but futuristic are still very creative, just like ideators. So that's a great connecting one, to come at something differently, but still want the same type of result. And then learners. Learners love learning from ideators, and ideation love learning what learners have learned. Yusra, I should probably put the ideation and learner exemplify each other too. They probably intensify each other. I'll add that to these slides too. As I can imagine, if you're a learner and you got ideation, you're out there getting all kinds of new ideas all the time.
Yeah, learner is number 2 for me. Ideation is number 1. And then I think futuristic is like 6 or 7.
Okay, so you're like, you're like really intense, like to an exponential power.
Jackpot, Brandy.
Yusra is going to do great things. I can't wait to see what she does in the long term with her life. Okay, so disruptors, things that might be kind of not so fun for an ideator. People that are a little more practical, bring you back down to earth a little bit. Achievers are going to want to get things done, where ideators are going to have so many ideas to get started that they could frustrate each other. The achiever is saying, stop with the ideas, I need to get this done. And the ideator is saying, I can't stop with the ideas and I don't care about what you get done. So there could be some conflict there. There could be conflict between ideator and consistency. Obviously, if they're at opposite poles, the ideators are super creative, where the consistency are very logical, very steady eddies. And they don't need a lot of creativity or eccentricism in their life to stay engaged. And then responsibility is kind of the same way. They feel very responsible for taking an idea and then taking over the finish line and delivering it to customers. And if there's a ton of ideas coming in, it can be really frustrating for them to be like, look, what do you really want me to deliver here? I need you to set expectations clearly.
Brandy,
What happens if ideation's number 6 and achiever's number 1 and responsibility's number 5?
Yeah, then those aren't frustrating you, right? Your ideas are creative and interesting, but they are driven towards something, and you get things done, and you are responsible to customers. So you just have the ands in there. It's like a math equation. You have ideation and achiever and responsibility. You just have it all.
Oh, okay.
I was just going to ask that question. Are people with ideation, do they execute, or do they just create the ideas and then hand it off?
It depends. Only if they have executing strengths. Yusra, are you able to talk on this for just a second? Because I know execution is harder for you. She's doing 2 calls at once today, so I don't know if she's available. So when she comes back, we'll ask her, because she has a harder time finishing or executing because all she wants to do is develop ideas. And so she finds
Yeah. I don't know if you were talking to me, Brandy, so I was tapping in through calls. Yeah. So are you asking about execution for me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Execution, I think, is like, I don't know, 20 something for me. And in the fact that I have ideation as number 1 and with learner being tagged, I really feel like it really impacts that. So that's something that I'm really working on right now, to see how I can get my ideas going, but then also execute on them. It's a real struggle.
Yeah, and it's really all about partnering with other people, finding good partners that can execute and follow through on all your good ideas, because it's never going to come naturally to you, and so you don't want to waste your time and energy there. What Yusra wants to eventually get to is a place where she can just be the idea generator, and be that machine that's kicking out all kinds of new ideas and interesting things for other people to go test and experiment with, and to actually follow through on when they look like they're ideas that should be pursued.
Right. That would be a dream job.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So when are they not at their best? When they're restricted by rules, when they're too focused on structure and have to color within lines, when their creativity is stifled, or they can't be original, when they don't get to learn about new ideas and concepts, when they're bored, which can happen easily if they're not getting fed those new concepts, when they're not getting to create and innovate, when their out of box thinking is not appreciated, that's really frustrating to them. When they don't get to think freely and do things differently than they already are, that's very frustrating to them. They love to brainstorm and whiteboard, so if they're not getting to do those things, that's stifling. They love to solve problems creatively and differently. They are focused on the unconventional rather than conformity. And sometimes they can get frustrated with others who aren't catching on to the connections that their brain is making. Anything to add?
People that are strategic, I notice people that I have a coworker that's strategic and analytical, thinks through a lot of it. And it's not necessarily out of the box thinking. So is that, with ideation falling under strategic? Is it just defined a little bit more loose of analytical thinking?
So your coworker has strategic plus analytical.
Mm-hmm.
And what were you saying about them?
I'm just trying to compare it to this ideation. Is that, because this looks like it's a lot more freer, where he seems to be a lot more structured. Like,
yes,
don't get out of the box. It's
completely different.
Okay.
Think about people that you guys have met that are super creative. Think marketing, very creative. All right. Now they can have other strengths that influence that, but they are eccentric. They are interesting. They are creative.
It's almost beyond the act.
They're artists.
Okay.
Okay. Strategic is what if thinking. Analytical is who, what, where, when, why, how. Now you can have a strategic analytical ideator. So you can have someone that's super creative, also looks at the data and analytics, and thinks through all the what if scenarios. You could have all three of those. But if you don't have something like strategic and analytical, then you're not going to be strategic at all, and you're not going to be analytical at all. You're just going to be creative. So the combinations are really important. Brad, did you have a question?
No, you just asked if you wanted to add anything, so I just wanted to put my hand up so I wasn't interrupting anybody on here.
Sure. What would you like to add?
So the two things, it's not my number one, but it's top 10 for me.
Okay.
Ideation, number one, can take on various forms. So what you said, artistic, that's what we may think of this. It can manifest itself in multiple ways. So like I have a friend who is the traditional artist. She is arts and crafts. She is just coming up with different things to build and paint and whatever. Exactly what you think about ideation. Well, I can't draw a stick figure to save my life, but nobody wants to try me in like quiplash or word games or anything that involves random coming up with thoughts that wordplay, I guess, but just because that's how it manifests itself with me.
Well, and if you think about it, Brad, you have communication as a top strength. So when you smash those together, you have ideative communication. You communicate ideas. So your creativity around ideation is going to manifest in words.
Well, yes. And I would say the communication part is the word part, but the ideation is where I start coming up with the most random word structures you can think of that confuses the hell out of people.
That's it.
Yeah, which is why I'm good at random games like Quiplash, where you're trying to come up with different scenarios. And I come up with things where just people are dumbfounded, like, how did that come out of your mouth?
Yeah. That's
and the other.
Oh, sorry.
Example, so you were saying where they get frustrated. I know if you have to work, if you're high ideation and you work with either a boss or a team leader or even a coworker who doesn't appreciate that you're throwing out ideas, because I've had someone where I will I go off track, of course, because I'm ideation, and I'm coming up with all these different things we could do, and then they just literally look at you and go, so what direction do you want to go in then? And I just shoots it down to just give me what we're going to do and I don't care about the rest of this. It really frustrates ideation people because they're not appreciating all the different things that you're coming up with.
Exactly. We're going to cover more of that too, where we talk about what you can do to help engage those people a little more while being ideation. So we're going to cover that in a couple slides. Hang with me. So the best environments for you guys are going to be when you do get to be creative and innovative, when you get to express your ideas, when your ideas are appreciated and used, which Brad just said. When you get to think freely, try new things, where you get to be unconventional, original, where you get lots of exposure to new ideas and concepts, and you're thinking up out of the box solutions that are, again, appreciated, where you get to do things differently, you get to brainstorm and whiteboard lots of ideas, where you get to solve problems differently. You know, they don't want to solve the problem the same way every time. They want to come up with something that's different, intriguing, interesting, and works better. You know, they're great when they get to connect all those abstract elements and they bring them together into a whole picture that is, you know, a picture that no one's ever really thought about or seen before. And there's your word combinations right there. Okay. So when they're in those environments, they're going to hear you have really interesting ideas. You're super eccentric, you're creative and enlightening, you're original, you have tons of ideas. You're really good at connecting the dots. You always have enlightening perspectives. Your play on words is incredible. You're conceptual. Your experimentation is great. You are great at brainstorming, whiteboarding. You always think outside the box. You always provide profound perspective. What else have you guys heard that you love hearing?
I mean, it's fun when people are amazed at your ability to just riff and come up with that right off the top of your head. Like they're wondering where you pulled that out of. So yeah. It's always like, oh, well, you can't do that yourself? Cool.
Yeah, your spontaneity. Yeah.
Yeah. They're happy from it, not annoyed by it, I guess I should say.
Yeah. Yeah. When they're impressed by it, it's super fun. Okay. What you might hear in moments where your ideation is not welcome is, gosh, you're too abstract. You're hard to follow. You're all over the place. You lack follow through. You keep generating more work. You have too many ideas. You seem to get bored quickly. You say strange things. You seem to be easily distracted. You are weird. Focus, man, focus. You're all over the map. Your constant stream of ideas are distracting. That's a good idea, but I don't know if it'll be approved or is in the budget. It's a good idea, but I don't know if that's in the company's plan or part of the big picture. Have you guys heard these before?
Oh, hell yes.
Anybody else? Okay. So what do you guys love to be known for? Your plethora of profound, novel, clarifying, contrary, and bizarre ideas. You love to be known for your eccentric and original personality, your unconventionalism, where you live outside the lines, your creativity, your innovation, and your experimentation. You love to be recognized and known for your abstract thought, your strange and enlightening perspectives, and coming up with non-traditional solutions. You know, your out-of-the-box solutions. You love to be known for discovering those simple explanations beneath concepts that most people find complex. You find them simple, but other people find them complex. You love to be known for your exploration, the different angles and perspectives that you provide. You know, your ability to brainstorm and whiteboard for such long, extended periods of times. And of course, your quirky word combinations that perfectly capture concepts, ideas, and patterns. Okay, so when you communicate, you may bounce around. You may bounce around ideas quickly. You may make really interesting connections verbally to people. You may share your, you know, interesting perspectives, concepts, or new ideas that you've recently come across. You might want to brainstorm aloud. Again, you might creatively mash words together and make people laugh and bring creativity to the moment. You may communicate, you know, you may simplify those complex concepts out loud and help others connect the dots. You may want to explore strange and enlightening concepts and angles. You may lose interest in a single topic and jump to the next one. if it's not moving fast enough for you, because your brain is on fire. It works. It's working. It's going ting, 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 ting. Or you may, make interesting, funny, quirky statements in the communication. You guys are really just, really trying to stay engaged by entertaining yourself in the conversation. And in order to do that, you got to keep coming up with new, interesting thoughts and ideas. And I shouldn't say it that way, not that you have to, but your brain just does that. It just goes, oh, well, this is interesting. Oh, well, this is, well, what they said connects here. And it just goes, oh. It's like, just fascination all the time, working at light speed seconds in your brains. Okay, so if we're working with you, here's some ideas I came up with to work with you guys. We might want to ask you about your ideas to engage your brain. We might want to encourage you to share your ideas with us. We might ask you to share the new enlightening concepts and ideas that you found recently, or some of the emerging technologies you stumbled upon, or the funny things that people are out there doing that is something new and trendy. Showing enthusiasm and fascination for your ideas. It shows a lot of support for you guys. We want to listen to your explanations and the connections you're making and your perspectives, because they are extremely enlightening. And then we may want to sit there and whiteboard with you and brainstorm with you. And sometimes since I'm so logical, and this is really difficult for me, I might say, you brainstorm, I will take notes and write stuff down, because then I get to use my strength while you use your strength, and we become a partnership or a pairing. And I may ask these ideators to explain or to elaborate, because I'm not connecting the dots that they're connecting. And we don't want to expect you guys to cling on to a single topic for too long, because that's just not going to happen. You guys want to explore lots of different concepts in conversation. Anything else we can do for you in conversation that makes it more fun and interesting and engaging?
Yeah, Bernie, I want to add something to this that you pointed out.
Yeah.
I think my biggest pet peeve is when somebody tells me to take notes during a meeting.
Yeah.
Because my brain is absolutely just flowing with ideas, and the best use of my time is usually to engage in that conversation and build off of the ideas that other people are kind of, thinking about, and just kind of like try to make that conversation the most effective and the best use for the business, right? So if we have multiple stakeholders on the call, I want to be involved in that conversation. And very often, leadership will ask people to take notes, and I have brought this concern to my leaders already, that I think that we should just record the session and people should take their own notes, because when you're telling anybody, like not even a person that has ideation, to take notes, you're essentially telling them that I would rather use your time for you to document everything that's being going around that we're talking about, and then using you to share ideas and thoughts, right? Because and for me, taking notes has always been one of my top weaknesses, because it is a struggle to be able to write things down and to connect ideas together. So I really feel that that's a challenge, and something that leadership, if they have an ideator in the room who likes to really participate and bring ideas, asking them to take notes is probably not the best approach or use of their.
Where with someone like me, I'm a great note taker, and it's actually how I stay engaged, because I need execution to stay engaged. So if I sit there and execute during the call, I'm actually paying attention and thinking, and actually engaging in the conversation, which is, it's just two different ways of doing it.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's some engaging questions you can ask an ideator as well. What's your idea? What ideas do you have? What one of the most eccentric new ideas you found this week? I just wanted to list out some questions. We're not going to go through all of them here today, but so that you have them. So if you are working with ideators and you are trying to engage them and get them to talk to you and get them to open up, these are some nice questions that you can ask them. Okay, so if you are an ideator, here are some things that I would like you to consider as you're trying to sell to other people. I think that when you show those new to market aspects that you guys naturally see, that's going to be beneficial to a conversation, to a potential client. Showing how the product or service will penetrate those new markets, increase the market share, and generate additional revenue. I would also specifically go down and target inventors and first adopters who are keen on trying out new concepts and ideas. You're going to be able to sell your ideas and concepts to them much better. You're going to share those different angles and perspectives that might be interesting to the person that they're not thinking about, which will make the product or service more unique. You can illustrate value through pictures, analogies, metaphors, and instructions. And you really need to think about how you're going to do that, because otherwise, you know, all your thoughts bouncing around and all your ideas and all your excitement might get lost upon the person if they're not ideation as well. You can also come up with creative ways to engage or enlighten potential clients. You know, take them through, for example, an immersive experience, something that normal salespeople don't do for the potential client. You know, of course, you want to share your enthusiasm and your delight for the products and services. That enthusiasm goes a long way. And you always want to help them see those simple, profound explanations beneath things that are complex. So working on complex and interesting products and services, but then simplifying it so that someone else can take it and run with it is extremely useful. You can help them connect the dots. You can actually create brainstorming sessions where you recruit ideas and experiences from them, so you can figure out how the products and services can help them. You can also really focus on your marketing material, because you do have that design eye to where you can make those things interesting, intriguing to other people. And then, you know, coming up with those word combinations that really capture what that product and service does in a very, short phrase is helpful for, you know, especially when you only have, 30 seconds to kind of sell your ideas. And then be the resource for your potential clients or clients to come to you for ideas and, new product ideas and, some of the evolutionary stuff that's going on in the world today. And then if we want to sell to you, we've got to, show you the uniqueness. We've got to present something creative, enlightening, that's interesting. We've got to share the new ideas and concepts, but we've got to do a lot of that. So we've got to really come prepared with, okay, there's a lot of interesting new ideas and concepts going out there. Let's at least throw some out there on the whiteboard so that we can discuss them. And then the ideator will kind of take it from there, but they need to know that you're willing to do that with them. And they're going to bounce around a lot. And so we've got to be able to just move with them and flow with them and know that this is the process. And like for me, I take notes and then I organize my notes as they're talking so that it all connects for me. What else do we need to do for you? We might set up experiments that you can take the take the products out for a test run. We could create these immersive experiences where you actually get to try stuff out. We could set up experiments for you guys to actually play with the products and services. We want to make sure our marketing and design material are great so that your brains are turning on when you look at our stuff. We want to ask you to be an early adopter. You guys are going to take a lot of pride in that. You're going to want to do that, and that's something we can offer you to get you engaged in our products or services. And then, of course, we need to show you how that product or service is going to get you, allow you or empower you to be a market starter and be the first to market. And yeah, and then, we need to show you, we need to demonstrate basically that this product or service is worth the investment of your thoughts and energy and creativity as well. Okay, so if you guys are meeting somebody new for the first time and you're like, is this person an ideation person? You're gonna go, does this person bounce around a lot to different topics? Are they hard to follow sometimes? Do they seem to get distracted or bored? Do they also seem creative and eccentric? If the answers to all four of those are yes, then they're potentially an ideator. And you could even ask them straight out, what's something new you've recently encountered? And if they're just like, boom, 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 here's all the things, then you're going, okay, this person is highly creative. They're very interested in this type of stuff. If they just kind of look at you like, I don't know, I haven't even been studying that stuff, then they're not ideation. Some interesting words might be interesting words. Some words that they might use in conversations so you can pick up on whether you're dealing with an ideator are, idea, eccentric, abstract, obscure, quirky, unconventional, creative, original, concept, conceptual. You can see the words. I don't need to name them all. And then, of course, just listening for those word combinations when they say something that smashes words together. Anybody have anything to add on anything I've said in the last 5-10 minutes? Okay, I'm going to keep going. All right, so as an ideator, I wrote down some considerations for you. Note that stability and ideation may be at odds. Your natural inclination to break from convention may cause friction, instability, and angst. So it's important that you help others see the logic behind your new pursuits. Your plethora of ideas and thoughts may overwhelm others. So you always want to make sure to refine what you're sharing before you share it. This will increase the adoption, and it will also increase how you are perceived. Whether you're perceived as someone with good ideas or whether you're perceived as someone with just a lot of air ideas. Your mind quickly connects ideas, but others may not make these connections. So you always got to find ways to illustrate those. And you want to ensure that you find ways for your ideas to be executed upon to generate results, which we already talked about. That way they're not just ideas, but they actually result in something. And try not to get frustrated with us logical people when we're not following your abstract thought. Just use those moments as an opportunity to build on to the concepts. When you jump around topics quickly, we may think you're uninterested in what we are saying. So to let us know that you are interested, just say, no, what you are saying is actually interesting and engaging, and it's helping me generate thoughts and ideas. That way we feel like what we're saying to you is actually beneficial to you and not boring you. And don't take it personal when we're not fascinated with your ideas. You just have so many, and sometimes we have different interests than what you have. When your creativity is stifled, right, by frequent stonewalling of a manager, team, or company, partner with analytical to align your ideas with objective measures and metrics so that your ideas make sense to other people. Or partner with a strategic person to align to the big picture and create a plan. This is going to help you connect all those crazy, interesting thoughts and ideas to tangible things that other people understand and conceive a little bit better. And then you can use what I'm calling as an interpreter, like using numbers, using the bottom line, using milestones or achievements to make those ideas more tangible to others as well. Definitely write down all of your ideas. You don't want to lose them. They will become useful in the future in some way. A lot of times you guys have ideas that are ahead of your own 2 feet. But in a year or 2 years or 5 years from now, those ideas actually become very relevant to what you need to do. And if you get idea block, right, when you have a loss of inspiration, you may feel bewildered or useless and just, really scared and vulnerable. So just know that it's temporary. Pair with a restorative person to identify the root causes, what could be causing these things. Think about, are you taking care of yourself from a health perspective? You need to meditate, clear your mind, try some exercises. You could drum to activate both the right and left hemispheres of the brain, walking, hydrating, sleeping, eating nutritiously, and consider that, you might actually have the solution right there. It just, you need to stop and look at the ideas you've had rather than trying to generate new ones in that moment. You also need to identify external stressors, things that are going on in your life that might impact your ability to be, relax and be creative. And then, of course, engaging in activities that refuel your creativity, things that just automatically turn your brain on are going to be healthier for you if this happens to you. Thoughts, ideas, anything you want to say or share?
I thought it was interesting that you had an analytical and strategic right there, where we just spoke a little bit about it. And because it's funny, the coworker that I talk about, he's very analytical and strategic. And the ideation, I haven't seen that come out in him. I don't know if it's that we haven't asked, but he's usually pretty reserved. So that's why his ideation, I think, is like 13. So I would have thought I would have seen a little bit more of that come out. So it's interesting to just listen to that and see, maybe I'm just not.
Well, and also, Mariana, he might have ideas around how to be more strategic. Yeah. And he might have ideas of how to be more analytical. So the creativity gets wrapped up into the strategy and the analytics.
I could see that, because he's not the wow, when you look at him, you're like, he's not coming out with these crazy ideas, And I thought, really? But I guess they can write, but he is pretty intense when it's analytical and strategic. So
Right, and those are
Is
his
that a-
top strengths,
uh-huh.
and having both of those together is very intense, because then you're thinking
Mhm.
about big picture and you're thinking about the details and putting it all together. So that's intense to have both strategic and analytical in your top 5.
Yeah.
All right. If the ideators want to work well with others, make sure to not overwhelm us with all your ideas, but rather filter them and share the good ones. That way you become known for your good ideas rather than randomness. To increase inclusivity and engagement, you want to find ways to illustrate the thoughts. We've talked about that. People are naturally going to gravitate towards you to get ideas from you. So you want to make yourself available, or set up sessions, just depending on how you want to do it, but you want to somehow make it so that people can come to you for your ideas. And always, sharing your new ideas and new practices and concepts that you found with your team members is important. You want them to know that they can come to you for those types of ideas. And then helping people on your team see the simple explanations. You may be seeing something simple and going, why isn't everybody getting this? But sometimes you just need to map it out and show them so that they can go, oh, I see. I just didn't see the connection before. And then, of course, you can win them over with your quirky word combinations. And, I think it's important for you guys to continuously develop your design, marketing, advertising, journalism, R&D, and product development skills. And then that way you can continuously contribute those types of things to the organization. And, gaining a deep understanding of the boundaries and constraints that you must work within to be successful with certain team members or within the organization is important. And you will sometimes find that those teams or departments or organizations are not going to work for you, but it is really important for you to understand what those are so that you can either see if you can break them, or if you just simply need to operate within them in order to be successful where you're at that current time. If we're partnering with you, we need to encourage and listen to your ideas and creativity. We need to understand your need to be independent and freely explore. We need to listen with interest and provide you with the space that you need to brainstorm and whiteboard. We might want to ask you to, contribute your ideas and concepts on a regular basis. And I think I should have put on here something around, letting you know which topics I'm interested in and where I think things are really interesting, so that when you find them, you can share those ideas with me. Because then it's kind of like, what you're doing over here with this ideation thing is really good and interesting and contributes to my life as well. We need to show you that you're safe to ideate and that it's welcome. We could help you communicate those ideas. We can help you get results out of those ideas. We just need to accept that you're going to get bored quickly. You're going to bounce around. And that's not something we need to take offense to, but rather just accept that, for that's your nature and who you are. And if you weren't like that, you wouldn't be coming up with all the really creative, cool ideas that you do. Again, we can set up experiences for you, environments for you, where you get to actually experience something. Okay, I think we've covered most of the other stuff. For relationships, you want to seek out people who appreciate your creativity and eccentric nature. Find people that understand and give you the liberty to roam and explore. Use quirky word combinations that perfectly capture your feelings to create authenticity, uniqueness, and endearment. I have someone that does this that's close to me, and it's just really, really enjoyable when those word combinations and interesting ways of thinking are applied to me and to the relationship. It creates a kind of, sacredness, because no one else does that or calls you that, or, creates the phrases. Find out what topics your mate is interested in. We just talked about this. You can supply those ideas and concepts to them. That lets them know that you're engaged in what they're doing. Again, illustrating your thoughts is going to be really important to improve communication with your mate. And having patience when you are asked to explain things will really, really help. Brainstorming together is obviously going to be a fun activity for the two of you to do together. and, coming up with experiments or experiences that create memories is really great. And also just, really identifying and understanding any sort of boundaries that you might have to operate within to be successful. If you are an ideation leader, you want to choose to lead innovative, creative design, marketing, product development type things, because that's where you're naturally going to be strong. You want to be a source of creativity and innovation for your colleagues. I'm going to correct that little spelling error we have there. Or send that out. And you should be the one bringing fresh new ideas and innovations into the teams. You and if anybody else on your team also has ideation, you guys can really, really bring a lot of value by informing your teams of what's going on in the big world. Creating conceptual frameworks that help people see that big picture. All the illustrations we've been talking about is still going to be important for you as a leader to use. You should also probably be pretty good at understanding different people's perspectives and ideas and where they're coming from, because you are open to differences. And then, always creating those out of the box solutions, partnerships, initiatives. Just an example here, guys, is that, like, for example, someone who's got ideative who says, look, we're going to create an ideative function every single year where people get to participate and contribute their ideas. And then we're going to have a panel of people that pick out which ideas we're going to further pursue. And just doing stuff like that really benefits the organization and ensures that they continue to think about and do things that they wouldn't have thought about before or taken the time to think about before. And as a leader, again, you need to really understand any sort of conventional ways you need to work or boundaries, or, understand what the barriers are. And then if you can break them, if you can change them, how you're going to position yourself and your thoughts to do that, or if it's just not going to work. All right, if you are a coach, like if you have a person on your team, you're managing or leading or coaching an ideator, show them they're welcome and safe to brainstorm and ideate with you. You can whiteboard with them sometimes. You can encourage and intently listen to their creativity and their ideas, and show that interest, but also help them sort through the good ones. Help them identify the good ideas, sort through the good ones, show them how they can spend their energy there so that they're not wasting their energy on a bunch of bad ideas. And then, give them the resources that they need to be successful in taking those ideas forward. We also, as coaches, want to show them the environments or areas or departments or people or teams where they're going to be most successful and why. And then we also want to ask them to go do the research on the goals that they have, so that they can come up with some interesting ways of reaching them. And of course, if we have ideas or concepts or resources to share with them, that will be fuel for them. And just as if we're partners or in a relationship as coaches, if we can set up immersive experiences or experiments for them, that will help them. And we also need to observe and mention any constraints we see that hold them back, or help them understand the traditional ways of doing things so that they can think about new ways to do it, and outline any boundaries that they may need to consider working to be successful, working within so they can be successful. And then here are some actions that I've recommended that if you are an ideator, that you can take throughout the day to make sure that you're staying in a place of strength. So I'm going to pause here. What are your thoughts? What are you guys, what really stuck out to you today?
Well, I know that basing on the question you got a few minutes ago about the gentleman that was in her group, that they didn't see the ideation on him.
Yes.
I know, at least from personal experience, I know from some other people, especially when you're younger, if you don't know how to control it and focus it like, you know, you do as you get older, you might sometimes get that part of you beaten down a little bit if there's people that don't appreciate it or think that you're all over the map, all the things you wrote about already. So there might be people out there that do have it, but are a little fearful of unleashing it because it's been met before with
Sure.
less than positive reviews, I guess, especially if you didn't know how to control it when you were younger.
Right. Right. They're going, you're just all over the place and you're just saying these crazy things and you're so immature, right? As a kid, because they're like, just don't understand why you can't focus.
That would be the nice way of putting it, but it'd be like, what the expletive are you talking about? What's wrong with you? It could be something like that.
Right.
Thank you for that. I actually was thinking about that because I could see how that could be sometimes a little overbearing if they have all these ideas and they get shut down. So I'm gonna maybe poke at him. No, just kidding, because I'd love to see that. And actually, you know, my daughter who has Activator and she's communication, she's got to have, we haven't done her 34, she's got to have ideation like number 6.
Okay.
And you were just talking about her.
Yeah. What else? Ernie, was this a weird way of thinking for you?
Yes. But it's good for me to know how I can better lead a team whenever I have someone like this on it.
Yeah, and how to use them to the team's benefit, which is to go out, you know, let them go out there and go get a bunch of ideas and bring them back in.
Absolutely. I mean, it's my number 24, so it's pretty well down the list. But you know, I'm one of those people. I'm a nonconformist. If we've been doing something the same way for a long time, I'm looking to change it generally because I know there's probably a better way,
Yeah.
especially the way everything evolves. I'm somewhat of a believer if it's not broken, don't fix it. But you have to constantly be looking at a better way to make it, another way to make it better. And folks with ideation, I think, are the key to that success.
Yes, they have a huge ability to bring in those big ideas that just change the entire industry or change the entire way that we do things.
Yeah.
And yeah, and in today's world where things are moving so fast, it is incredibly important that we figure out how to leverage these people rather than stifle their creativity, because they're the ones coming up with the ideas that most people go, that's silly. But then someone actually takes action on it and it takes over the entire industry and changes it because it wasn't silly. It just needed to be, you know, maybe the person didn't know how to get it done, but it wasn't silly. It was something that if you figured out how to get it done, it could actually change the entire landscape.
Yeah, right now in the security world, there's a lot of conversation going on because of all these flash mobs that are going into these stores. And I've had a suggestion about, instead of making them open where just everybody can walk into them, have some type of access control, like through an app or something like that.
Sure.
You know, that like a frequent customer type app or something. And man, I'm getting shot down just left and right because, oh no, you can't do that kind of thing. It's all about, no, you can't do something, instead of, yeah, we need to do something.
Yeah,
Because what's going to happen is
let's try it. Let's experiment.
somebody's going to get hurt
Yeah.
by one of these flash mobs that's just in there shopping. And that's where the real liability for these companies is going to lie.
Right. Yeah. So Susan, are you still on or did you have to leave?
I'm still on. And
Okay.
I had a question on the previous slide.
Yes.
You talked about, I forgot how you phrased it now, creating an immersive experience and experiments. Can you give an example of what that means?
Yeah. So for example, if I was to say, look, you know, I want you to understand and give me some ideas around how to skydive. Okay. I should send you to the skydiving indoor skydiving place. I should let you have the experience and you know, let you get in there and roll around and play with it, and let that experience turn your brain on and engage your brain so that you can come back with some interesting ideas. Just making you listen to me talk about it or making you read something about it, it could work for you depending on your other strengths, but a more lively experience could actually, you know, turn the brain on a bit more.
That's really interesting, because ideation is number 6 for me.
Yes.
I would beg my manager, I'm in IT, but I've worked for a lot of retailers, and I would beg and say, let me spend a day in the store and see what they go through.
Right.
Because I'm responsible for systems that handle inventory or cash register and ordering.
Right.
And some managers are receptive, and that was gold. I learned so much. I came back fired up with ideas. Oh,
Yes.
you know what? Because you talk to real people, they tell you where their pain points are that you don't know because you're in IT. You're
Right.
not really doing it. But someone that does it is like, this always gets stuck here, or this takes me 3 extra screens to do something. And I come back full of ideas, but I have met managers who are like, you just want a day off kind of attitude. And it's like just the opposite. It's a longer day, you know, but it's funny that example.
Yes. No, I mean,
Yeah, that works for me.
right.
Okay, cool.
Right.
That was worth the admission right there for me.
Great. And have you found, maybe, you know, Yusra or Susan, either one of you, you guys have high ideation, you know, have you guys found specific areas or things that fuel your ideas, that get your brain moving and working? That, so like if you're just dragging and you go do that one thing, it actually turns stuff on for you?
The mental block example?
Sure. Or yeah.
Yeah, go for a walk, or I hate to say it, there's a joke about I go to the bathroom and come back with ideas.
Yeah.
Maybe because I'm alone in a room and no one's bothering me. And
Well, and I just think it's a different scenery for you guys. I mean, you know, just change the scenery and ideas just flood right to you.
For me, I like to just talk to a friend on the phone or meet people. That usually helps me come up with new ideas, like new energy.
Yes.
Even listening to like a podcast sometimes really helps things flowing.
Yep. What about you, Brad?
Physical movement. I think getting the body involved tends to get the mind opening up to a lot more things, I guess. So that's running or like you said, just a walk, whatever.
Yep. All right. Thank you guys for sharing. This was awesome. I will be posting this on YouTube. Again, I think you guys have all taken the assessment, but there's lots of different assessments for different people out there, and they come in different languages. And then, you know, if you haven't signed up to the Gallup, to the Strengthology Insights website, here's the link here. This is my web app that you guys can go sign into to get a lot of these insights that we're talking about. Eventually, I'll turn all these slides into modules and you can get all this information out there. I'll post the slides on LinkedIn. You can go to YouTube to get additional videos as well on these different strengths. And I think that's everything for today. I really appreciate you joining. Any last questions before we close it out?
What is next week's?
Next week's is adaptability.
Yay.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Yay.
All right, so we will see you all next week. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Have
you.
a good day. Thank you.